Hello, podcast listeners. We know podcasts are a great way to catch up on a program that you may have missed on KSJE, and it's provided as a free service of this radio station. But you know, KSJE is now listener-supported, and so while you enjoy this podcast, we hope that you'll also take some time to join KSJE. Become a member today. It's quite easy to do. Just go to our website at ksje.com/support and pick the level of support that best matches your budget. Thanks again for listening. Here's your podcast. 10 minutes past 8 o'clock. It is Thursday morning, the 13th day of February 2025. Good morning, everyone. I'm Scott Michlin. Thanks for tuning in to KSJE 90.9 FM right here in San Juan County, New Mexico. In Durango, Colorado, we know you're listening to us at 103.3 FM. And if you're listening from anywhere else on the planet, you've gone to our website to do that, ksje.com, or maybe you've asked your smart speaker to play KSJE, because it'll do that too. Welcome also to our viewers who are joining us this morning. The video of this program is streaming out live to the KSJE Facebook page and also from our YouTube channel. So welcome aboard, everybody. So glad that you are with us, because today we are getting an economic development update from the one and only Tim Gibbs from Four Corners Economic Development. He'll be joining me here in the next few moments right here on KSJE, and there's lots to talk about, so stay tuned for that coming up in the next few moments right here on KSJE. Next hour, of course, Mick Hess is going to take us roving with the arts. That's our weekday classical music program. That begins after the news at 9:06. A reminder, you can connect with us on X and Instagram in addition to Facebook and YouTube. And if you're a podcast listener, you can subscribe for free to KSJE podcasts. They're available at places where you're probably already listening to podcasts. So check it out and discover a new local program that you may have missed recently. Outside our studios here at San Juan College, we are expecting a mostly sunny day today, but those temperatures look a bit warmer than I thought they would be. So I think that's an older forecast. So check out the forecast on our website for a more accurate reading. But we are expecting some rain or snow showers to start later on tonight and then on into tomorrow. And so that is the storm and system that's coming in over the next 24 to 48 hours. So we'll keep an eye on that as well. I'll be back with my guest from Four Corners Economic Development right after this on KSJE. KSJE is supported by San Juan Regional Medical Center, whose vision is to deliver world-class care, making life better for the communities they are privileged to serve. Offering a comprehensive range of inpatient, outpatient, and emergency care services so residents can live life better here. San Juan Regional Medical Center, community-owned and operated, here for you.
Ahead, turn right.
Isn't it nice to have a little help getting where you're going?
Your destination is ahead and 300 feet.
When navigating life's challenges, the San Juan County Navigation Center can help you with navigating housing, navigating transportation, navigating medical providers, and more. Learn more online at sjcnavigate.net or call 505-636-7110. The Navigation Center, connecting to resources, empowering lives.
You have arrived at your destination.
Back in Studio A with my guest this morning, as I mentioned, from Four Corners Economic Development. Always great to have him here. Tim Gibbs is here with me this morning. Good morning, once again. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. It's good to be here.
Our first visit of the new year. So
that's right.
Great to have you here. And it's your almost anniversary, is it not?
It's close, yes.
Yeah, a couple days away.
I'm no longer the new guy.
No, you haven't been that for a long time.
Yeah, somebody's got to be newer than me.
There's someone is newer than you, but you're still the number one guy in the job, that's for sure. And so we're glad that you're here to talk economic development and what's been going on. And I guess first and foremost, legislative session happening in Santa Fe, and you're keeping an eye on some bills that are moving through, I guess, the process.
It's very interesting. You know,
That's a word.
I've worked in several states before, and everywhere you go, it's really important that we protect our interest, that we try to have vision towards the future, and that we engage our elected officials in meaningful conversation. Right. Even though quite often, many times when we're speaking to our elected officials, we are speaking to the choir. They're representing our interest.
They know your story a little bit.
They do, but there's a dichotomy in New Mexico between the urban and rural areas. And so when I go to the Roundhouse, and that's appropriate, when you go to the Roundhouse down in Santa Fe, it feels like you're walking in circles. It just does. And we've been down there quite a bit. Was down there for 2 days last week, down to 1 day this week already. I know we're going to be back as well. And sometimes we're playing defense. It feels like about 3/4 of the time we are playing defense against either bills that would have negatively impact the region or our businesses. But there's some good things out there as well.
Right. And when you're talking to folks, I mean, you mentioned that, maybe if you're talking to folks from our area, they know your story, they know the issues. But when you approach other folks from other parts of the state, are they open at least to listening and talking with you, not at you, I would hope?
Some are, some aren't.
All right.
Civility is there. But there is a wide divide between parties, and even within parties. Even within parties, there's different planks of the parties. And there's even the last election. There's even that gulf is even got wider. So,
Sure.
As a student of government, there's a lot to learn. But we have to be successful because elections have consequences, and bills certainly do.
Right.
And there's bills out there that would affect our business community. And even if you don't stop a bill, if you can make it better, if you can take the rough edges off of it, the House Bill 11, the family leave, there's work to be done there. There just is, and that's the sausage-making process that's going on in Santa Fe. House Bill 35. Which is called a clean air bill, children's clean air bill.
Okay.
But it's primarily based on setbacks for gas and oil, for either existing gas and oil platforms or new ones. And and if you're not in compliance, you can be fined $30,000 a day per well, up to $2 million per well. If you're not in compliance with it.
We have a lot of those.
We do.
Yeah.
So there's work to be done.
And so with those bills, those two examples that you gave, walk me through a little bit about that. Let's start with the Clean Air Act. I mean, everyone seems to be in favor of clean air.
Well, and if you put the word child in front of it, of course.
Right. But the issue, I guess, is in the details. The devil's in the details, as they say, right?
It is. And you got to have science behind it as well. You have to know that you have an issue, and you have to have measurements, and you have to look in the places that it would affect. And then you have to talk to the local folks of that and see what they already have and whether it's working, whether you need more, and if so, how do you craft that? I don't know if that's been done. So it's a hard conversation to have, but the impacts are significant. And we're focused on what's going on in Santa Fe, but there's things going on in the federal government as well that's running counter to what they're trying to do in Santa Fe. Seems
Right.
In many ways, they're running in opposite directions.
Sure.
And not everything, like I had mentioned in Santa Fe, is necessarily bad, but there are things that we simply need to take a hard look at and make sure that our voice is included in the conversations for we could have at least the best bill possible, if not no bill at all.
Right. Understood. And the other one that I want to ask you about, too, is that House Bill 11, the Family Leave Act,
Yeah.
which has been talked about a lot. And I think it was introduced last year as well and did not pass. And so there are concerns for the small business community, I think, about this that would try to provide paid family leave for their employees, but also add another deduction, another tax, folks call it, right, from employees and employers, and that's the concern that a lot of folks have, I think.
There's all kinds of different ways to look at that, and there's some truth on both sides of that. Certainly employers need to be good stewards to their employees.
Right.
And understand that life does happen, and that they do need some flexibility to be able to react and strike that balance between work and family. There's no doubt about that. But once again, the devil's in the details of that. If someone can take up to 12 weeks off for family leave, and you bring someone in to help with their job as a temporary employee,
Right.
as it's currently written, when that employee leaves after whether it's 6 weeks, 8 weeks, up to 12 weeks, they can file for unemployment as well on the employer. So their rating, their uninsurance rating, goes up because more people are filing on that. So there's almost kind of a double taxation. They're paying
Another expense for the employer.
That's right. They're paying in twice, potentially.
For one position.
Right. Well, and usually they're doing the right thing anyway for that person, because retention of employees is so important right now because once you got talent, you want to hold on to it.
Right.
So most companies are doing the right things anyway to try to help their employees, hold on to their employees, retention of their employees, but doing it in a more efficient way.
Got it.
So this is a solution to a problem, but the solution may end up being much more expensive than the problem is currently.
Got it. Very good. So you're watching those, obviously.
We are.
And so there you go. There was one other one that we wanted to maybe talk a little bit about, a nursing mandate.
There is.
For a nursing shortage. We know we have a nursing shortage, not only in our state, but I think all over the country.
Yep. And I don't know the House bill number for that, but it's specifying that you have to have a certain number of nurses for a certain number of patients. And once again, you see that and you're like, well, why wouldn't you have that? Why wouldn't you have that? We're over 8,000 nurses short in the state of New Mexico right now. Now, what the hospital, what San Juan's doing with the college is impressive. They're investing and they're doubling capacities in these programs.
The nursing programs,
yes,
sure, yeah.
To get more people
out the door,
and into they want to hire. They're raising salaries. They're doing all these different things to hire more and more and more people. But it takes time to get people through, trained, and it's also competitive as well to do that.
Right.
If you would enact a bill like this on day one, July 1st.
Where do they come from?
That's right. It could shut down rural hospitals.
Because there's no gray area. It's either you have it or you don't.
At least at this point in the bill.
Yeah.
So and many times the intent of these bills are very, very clear of what they're trying to do.
Sure. And reasonable, I think, right? And you want to have family leave for your employees, but how do you do it?
That's right.
Yeah.
And with the hospital being one of our largest employers right now, we need to support them. But and they're trying to do the right thing as quickly as possible.
Right. So, and of course, on this program, we've talked about healthcare being an economic driver.
It is.
Folks come here for healthcare or specialized care and things like that. So the hospital is part of the economic development of the region.
Certainly is. Yeah, so there's no doubt about that. I remember one of my first couple weeks here, I sat down with the administration staff of the hospital, and they told me they had 180 open positions at that time. And the average wage was over $100,000 a year for many of these positions. First thought that came through my mind is if we made an announcement, if we did a press release that day and said we had recruited a new company coming to Farmington, 180 jobs at $100,000 a year, I think we would have been headlines of every TV station in Albuquerque at 5 o'clock.
Okay, yeah.
But yet, so they're trying to hire, and they're wanting to bring people on, and they're recruiting, and they're doing those things. And that number is no longer 180. It's down significant from that. But we just have to be careful.
Right. Very true. So you're watching those things. And your members, I would think, aforesaid, are watching these as well.
Well, and that's the reason why we're trying to do that. And we're aligning ourselves with the chamber. You know, they've got a significant marketing and lobbying effort, more than we do even as well. But it's really, really important that we align and complement and try to speak with one voice. And many times we're speaking with the same voice of our elected officials, but we need to magnify that for we can have more of a regional or statewide approach as well.
Right. There are some other bills, some other initiatives that you're watching too that may have more positive impacts.
There are
on the region, on the area. One is about quantum computing, which makes my brain hurt when I think about it because it's so different from our computing that we do today.
Well, and it's interesting. We're just getting to the point that we're getting a little bit comfortable with AI.
Yes,
just a little bit comfortable about how AI can make us more efficient in our daily life and our business application. And if anyone hasn't went to Microsoft Copilot or a ChatGPT or any of those free AI, they should, because it doesn't just give you an answer, it gives you an answer with context. It's not yes or no, but it tells you all about it, and it asks you if you'd like to learn more.
Right.
And many of these, you don't even have to type. You can just say, tell me about quantum computing. And if you did do that with an AI search engine, what you're going to find out is quantum computing has the opportunity to do calculations 3,000 to 4,000 times faster than the fastest computers on Earth.
Today.
Yeah. Which is mind-blowing.
Can't fathom that, but yeah.
Usually the
super fast.
Yes, and usually when things advance, it advances on much lower levels than 3,000 to 4,000 times.
Right. But for things like AI, they need those faster computers and calculations, right, to kind of have AI doing all these things and being able to spit out the data and the reliable information that we want.
Well, one of the examples that was used when I was in Santa Fe last week with healthcare. If someone was diagnosed with a type of cancer, with quantum computing, they could look at your DNA and your genome code.
Right.
And they could specify a regimen of drugs that will be more effective and efficient and less detrimental to your system for more positive healthcare outcomes.
Geared specifically to you.
That's right.
Right.
So you're not just taking an off-the-shelf medicine, you're taking a tailored mix that fits exactly what you have, the kinks in your genetic armor, and for better outcomes.
Gotcha. But we would need something that computes that fast to come up with that.
Well,
in a timely manner that wouldn't take 6 years to figure it out.
Well, and it may not even necessarily be just the speed, just the capacity of the calculations that would take place. But the reason why quantum computing excites me on multiple levels in economic development is it's potentially a competitive advantage for the state of New Mexico. And the reason I say that is the Los Alamos National Labs and Sandia National Labs have been working on quantum computing for years.
Right.
Because of that and because of the footing of these federal research labs, we have a head start over any place in the nation. The University of New Mexico has more graduates coming out of their programs in quantum computing than most other schools in the United States as well. There has been research and development centers announced this year, $1 billion research and development center coming to New Mexico. There are 2 bills, Senate bills currently, that have been filed to help with another research and development center here in New Mexico that, if grounded here, would make potentially New Mexico be I'm using an analogy, the next Silicon Valley of supercomputing. And because of the competitive advantages that the labs bring and the work that's been done and the feeder system of the university of what they would combine.
Right.
Those are powerful, powerful things. Those can change an economy. Those can have generational effect on the state.
Right.
And even this region here. You know, Forced's been working on a broadband initiative now going on our 2nd year. We've had a couple grants for that. And one of the things that we're working with is the expansion of high-speed internet. Now, we have high-speed internet, but if you have high-speed internet with fiber to every home and to every business, it's much more reliable. It's cheaper. It's cheaper, and it's got more connectivity. Faster. The minimum speeds is 500 up, 500 down, symmetrical.
Right.
And those are the things. While you say, well, my Netflix works just fine today, when we start talking about things like quantum computing, when we start talking about ultra-secure networks for businesses, for they can do business with their partners without going through other countries with their data.
Right, sure.
Point-to-point connections, it gives us a competitive advantage. It allows us to do things and build upon these Raytheon and these companies like that that would find Farmington very, very attractive with connectivity to the world, but also security for their operations. So they all relate about who we are and what we can be, both today and in the future.
Right, that makes sense. And now you say that fiber is cheaper, but it's not. You have to connect it, and that's the devil in the details, right? That last mile, isn't that the issue that sometimes
that's one of
gets a little pricey when you talk about fiber?
That's one of the reasons we've been working on our broadband initiative. Is we had a broadband summit here a few months ago. We had about 300 people show up. A lot of folks from the region, but at least a third of those were companies from outside, even New Mexico.
Right.
This is an attractive market. So something's going to happen.
Right.
And people are looking at this market because it makes sense for them to do so.
Sure.
So, yeah, and just like everything that evolves, we want to bring, and we're not stretching fiber. We're not doing that last mile connection. But we want companies that want to be here, want to be a part of it, sees a future, and helps us grow from where we are to where we're going. So I fully believe those things are going to happen.
I hear you, and I think there's a big push from the state too to roll out fiber to some of these communities. At least with the density that you have, at least in the major metro areas of the cities and things like that, that makes it certainly more cost effective to do it there.
And that kind of cues up my next thing is there's been a push from the federal government as well. Right now with the federal government, we're in a unique spot. You know, we We dance with whoever brings us the ball.
Sure.
And there's going to be some very, very unique opportunities for growth with a new administration and new priorities. But there's also kind of a messy transition period. Last year, there was a lot of federal resources for broadband. I hope and think that it will continue, but I don't know that. And there's been a pause on lots of things with federal fundings, and some of which has even had an impact with our organization. We have, last year we received $350,000 in grant dollars to do very unique things that was going to move our economy forward. One of which was a $100,000 DOE, Department of Energy grant. And that grant was simply for us to look at the assets of the energy economy and figure out how we can apply them towards manufacturing. What can you make out of CO2? What can you make out of hydrogen? What can you make out of natural gas? What can you make out of helium? And actually, there's a lot of different things where there's competitive advantage to manufacture items.
Right.
And if we can do that here, then we have a playlist of things and companies and sectors that make sense to be here in Farmington and San Juan County and also the satellite communities around us. Right now, our grant's frozen. Doesn't mean that we're not going to get it, but they're sorting out their priorities. And I'm simplifying this down a little bit.
Sure.
But and we don't know. I don't know if it's a week. I don't know if it's a month. I don't know if it's forever. I am supposed to be in Washington 2 weeks from today for a conference. They don't know if they're going to hold the conference because they don't know if they're able to spend money to host practitioners for economic development to come to Washington to talk about our grants.
Right. And that could be resolved this afternoon.
It could be. It could be in my email right now.
Yeah.
But we don't know. So I've used the phrase the tectonic plates are moving underneath of us. And it feels like they are. There will be positive things that comes out of this, especially for gas and oil in particular. There will be. The amount of time it takes to do permitting and those type things, transparency. There will be some positive things, but we've got to be the best partner we can be. We've got to be very, very clear about what we're doing, why we're doing it, and the vision that we're representing. But we also have to go along for the ride a little bit until there's clarity.
Sure.
There's people in the positions.
Well, right. It's pretty new.
It is.
And so that's what you're saying, I think. And
so every day's exciting.
True. Well, that's true. Always something new, I'm sure, as well. You had a gathering earlier this week to talk a bit about maybe some possible energy shifts and changes and things like that. NTEC, the Navajo Transitional Energy Corporation, is the operator of the Four Corners power plant. And so they have some plans and some ideas, I guess, at their site.
Yeah, we on a quarterly basis, we do breakfast meetings. This one was free to the public. No cost whatsoever. You got a free breakfast, and you got to learn about economic development. And it's
almost like this show without the breakfast.
There you go. It was good. We also had Four Corners Clean Energy Alliance,
right? Which
is a group that's just looking to support and sponsor clean energy and projects, from carbon sequestration for pipelines and all different things in the area that's going to have an impact on our economy. But they want to make sure that people's got information. Good information, and then they can make up their own minds about things. But so if you go to Four Corners Clean Energy Alliance, their website, there's a plethora of information for you to see about energy and energy transition, primarily in this region, and what they're representing and who they're working with, and some of the answers they think to the questions that's been answered out there.
Sure.
They did a presentation about the organization in the first half of the breakfast.
Okay.
The second half of the breakfast was Navajo Transitional Energy Company. And they have Navajo Mine,
right?
And they also have their minority owner of the power plant,
right? The majority owner is Arizona Public Service.
It is who's looking to leave, to step back at some point. And there's talk of Navajo NTEC assuming their shares, to be the largest minority. I know it's an oxymoron, but the controlling interest of it.
Sure. But APS has announced that they want to maybe make a change less than 10 years out.
Period of time, yes. They have made announcements. Once again, things are changing. And base load's so important for electric. We spoke of AI. If you do a AI search, it takes 10 times the electrical power for that AI search than a traditional Google search.
Right, okay.
Because it's bringing so much more information to the table.
Sure.
So we thought things like LED and efficiency and all these different things was going to lessen our demand for electric within the grid of the United States. It's quite the opposite. We need 40% more power than we're producing over the next decade just because of things like quantum computing.
Right.
Now, quantum computing, it actually takes less electric for a quantum computer, but it's got to operate at something like 271 degrees below zero Kelvin, so the refrigeration
To cool it, to keep it functioning.
Is significant.
Gotcha.
So
Okay.
we need more power.
Right.
We do. How do we do that, and how do we do it in a responsible manner?
Sure.
Intech presented what they call the Energy Hub plan, which is a $5.7 billion plan that would take over a decade to do natural gas-fired generation. Also, improving the infrastructure for transmission lines that come into the area, a large solar array as well, and a carbon sequestration component to the existing coal mine that takes the CO2 and puts it in. This is the Wikipedia version. I'm not a scientist. Puts it in the ground for something like close to a 10,000-year cap.
So it doesn't go into the atmosphere.
Yeah, that's
is the
right.
point.
Long time. Because they found that the geology here, not only is it good for getting oil and gas out, but it's good for storage as well.
Okay.
So there's a real competitive advantage to the geology we have for carbon sequestration here. But their plan is to clean up what they're doing in many, many ways and be a good steward of the environment, but also be able to bring clean energy to the grid that's needed today and for tomorrow as well.
Right. You mentioned that base load electric, and that just to define that a little bit more is just, we know we have folks with solar and things like that can add to the electrical grid, but it's that base power that when it gets cold and I want to turn on my electric heater, that demand is met and things like that. That's kind of what you're talking about. Or in the summer when everyone turns on their air conditioner, that power load is met even if it's a cloudy day, but a hot, cloudy day.
It is. I mean, the sun's not always shining, the wind's not always blowing. That's the simple part of it. Yeah. But also, even during the day, if the wind is blowing and the sun is shining, there's peaks in demand. During an 8-hour or 12-hour workday, there's a few peaks where especially renewables without storage, it's hard to make it work.
Right.
So we have to have a base load, and then we can bring on renewables. We can manage the electrical grid and optimize it for it's reliable, and then it's as inexpensive as possible for the end user.
Right. And the storage is getting better, but it's still maybe not where most people would like it to be for being able to store large amounts of power.
10 years ago, we didn't have such a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's better, but not quite where maybe it needs to be.
Yeah.
But we'll see. Very good. Just a couple of minutes remaining this morning. Tim Gibbs from Four Corners Economic Development. And so anything else that you are looking at is, we want to talk about the airport. And the return of commercial flights, which is an economic development announcement, and driver, I would think, too, to be able to have commercial passenger flights in and out of your community.
I'm so proud of what the city has done and also what the airport has done, the airport manager has done. This is such a competitive environment for flight service. There's a shortage of pilots, there's a shortage of planes, and there's just a competition. I mean, a bare-fisted competition for communities, especially smaller communities. So they've invested in the airport and made it where they can land larger jets there.
Right, safely and all that.
That's right.
Meet the federal regulations.
That's right. And safety is a big deal, but also the weather. I mean, it's easier. You're going to have less snow delays and less weather delays here than some of the airports that are in proximity, closer to the mountains.
Right.
Not to mention no names.
No. But I think we know what you're talking about.
Maybe.
Okay.
But a 50-seat jet to Denver. So you're in Denver in an hour or less. Having flights early in the morning where you can make connections to the world. Having your return flight later in the evening. And then the jet overnighting here first thing in the morning.
Right.
There's even less of a chance that you're going to have a delay or miss a connection in Denver. That's spot on.
Because the plane is already here, the crew is already here.
That's right.
You get up and go.
That's spot on. So I'm really looking forward. I'm on the first flight.
Good.
I'm going to fly up with the mayor, and I've already got 2 meetings set up in Denver for that day, and it's going to be a productive day on that. And I just really want to encourage the business community and also the residents to use that flight, to think about, and they're going to have to reprogram themselves a little bit about what they look for, and also to think about what the true cost is of going to Albuquerque or going to another regional airport up the road and having to pay to park. Free parking.
Right.
And your time's worth something as well. It may be cheaper for flights. I don't know yet, but all I know is we really need to support this program. We need to support these flights for we can maintain what we have and hopefully, potentially, even grow and have more flights in the future.
Right. I think that would be very exciting. And I know a lot of folks have been, long waiting for this to happen. The city's been working, and the airport manager, as you mentioned, working very hard over the years. COVID certainly didn't help, but now it's back, and I guess the challenge is for the public to use it, or we'll lose it.
Yeah, it's got a flight guarantee program, but if we use those flights, then we're not out any money on that flight guarantee program. And it also shows the airport why they need to be in the carriers, why they need to be in Farmington.
Right.
Now, and I don't know if we get back to 5 to 7 flights. Earlier you were speaking of that.
I don't know if
on the air.
Right.
But we can have connectivity to the world. Just as we're doing with the broadband, we can break down the isolation that people may think exists,
right,
and grow this economy.
Sure. And I think maybe some additional destinations would be great, but I think Denver's certainly, it makes sense because I think that's where you can connect to many and many other destinations and things like that. But I know folks would like to get to other places as well. And I think if we use those flights to Denver, that may show the carrier that maybe they could add some other routes and out of Farmington and into Farmington.
And there's other carriers in Denver as well.
True.
So we're opening up the world's international hub.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Very true. And from an economic development standpoint, I mean, when you are pitching this area to other companies or other CEOs and things like that, I mean, we do have access to air travel, but, it's an hour or longer away. Having something just down, 15 minutes from your office to be able to jump on a plane and get somewhere, is that a plus?
You made the pitch for me. Of course it is.
I would think so.
And we're breaking down many of those things. Even what the county's doing on railroad right now. We were the largest MSA in the United States that didn't have an interstate, commercial air service, or a railroad. Okay, we got the commercial air service. We're working on the railroad,
checked, right?
And as far as the interstate, you've got a quality 4-lane now that you didn't used to have in the past.
Right.
So we're opening up to the world virtually, and now in person, what we have to offer. And I think the world will like to see who we are, what we have to offer, and who the people, what they represent, because that's what they're looking for. They're looking for that blue collar. They're looking for that work ethic. They're looking for a place that they can be profitable and operate long term.
Got it. And well, again, just to wrap things up, we've got the labor pool, I guess, that's here. We've got San Juan College that could train the labor pool that's here for opportunities that come up.
We are doing a workforce study right now where we're defining the attributes of the labor force. For we know, so anytime we get a request, we can say, this is what you're looking for, this is what we have, this is the cross-reference, and if there is a gap, then this is how we can work with our partner, San Juan College, to fill that as well. It's how we compete.
Gotcha. Very good. Partnerships.
Yep.
Got it. Very good. Tim, good to see you. Happy anniversary.
Thank you.
And we'll see you next month.
Yes, sir.
Good to see you. Tim Gibbs, my guest this morning from Four Corners Economic Development, with me here on KSJE. KSJE and the San Juan College Native American Center present the Student Study Tip of the Week.
Hello and good day. My name is Emin Chi, academic coach with the Native American Center, bringing you coaching tips of the week. For week 4, find a routine. Getting yourself into a study routine is one of the best ways to make sure that studying becomes part of your everyday habit. Figure out what time of day works best for you and make a real effort to dedicate that time to reviewing notes, videos, and other related sources. Pick times during the week to try out your studying. You can try studying in the morning on one day, the afternoon on another day, and in the evening if that works best for you. When there are no distractions at the end of the night, once you've decided which time works best for you, try to stick with that time of day every day for at least 3 days a week to get in the habit of studying constantly. You might wind up rearranging your routine due to extracurricular activities, time with friends, and other commitments. But be sure to prioritize your studies and get them done in one way or another.
The Student Study Tip of the Week is presented by the San Juan College Native American Center and KSJE. Did you enjoy that podcast? We hope that you did. And if you did, share it with your friends. And if you really want to keep podcasts like this coming, please support KSJE. You can do it easily online at ksje.com.